these comments, Pooja, from on the part of Bangladesh obviously has made many in India upset, and they've been, there's so much commentary around it. Dhaka has explained that it was misread, but here it's playing out in a different way and not really helping the situation that, both the countries have found themselves in, given the ouster of Sheikh Hasina.
Sneha, let's just look at these images and try and analyze them. The first meeting between Mohammad Yunus, who's heading the interim government in Bangladesh, and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. What does the body language say? Let's just compare this to the images when Prime Minister Modi met Donald Trump. There was an immediate hug, handshake, smiles. Here you can see that there is a slight distance. You see a smiling Mohammad Yunus, but you also see, while Prime Minister Modi in turn also smiling, there's a handshake. But there is a certain distance, a certain apprehensive attitude also that is coming in with regard to how clearly there have been tensions between New Delhi and Dhaka. This meeting on the sidelines signifies that India, Bangladesh want to sit together. They have shared history. They want to take this ahead. But there are also a lot of concerns, from Sheikh Hasina to attacks on Hindus, on which India has responded. Then his comment on China. And let's be clear, what is the BIMSTEC summit really about? It is literally about the Bay of Bengal initiative for multi-sectoral technical and economic cooperation. It involves 7 South Asian nations. And when I was speaking to a Thailand trade representative officially from the government yesterday, he said India is the leading voice here in the BIMTEC Nations Summit. India holds a prominent position. So without a doubt, among all 7 nations, it is a collaboration. But India in many ways is a leader with that regard. And India realizes and understands that it's one of the big stable economies. And therefore, this meeting is very significant. The details are still sketchy. The clarity coming in a while about what exactly was discussed. But I think if you compare how Prime Minister Modi has interacted with any of the leaders, including from Europe, whether it has been Emmanuel Macron, whether it has been Giorgia Meloni, any leader that he has been perhaps more friendly with, compare that to Mohammad Yunus. A very official photo op, but nevertheless a beginning. A beginning that since August 2024, since Yunus government came in, the first meeting happening there. Over to you, Sneha.
All right, be with us, Pooja. In fact, I'm just going to also bring in our colleague Indrajit Kundu for more on that. Indrajit, talk to us about how this is playing out, specifically in the backdrop of the comments that have been made by Mohammad Yunus vis-a-vis the northeastern part of the country. Also on what really is on top of India's agenda, given the, equation between both the countries, both the leaders, vis-a-vis just so many developments over the last few weeks or so, isn't it?
Well, that's right, Sneha. Very, very significant and crucial, images coming in from Bangkok. Remember, we are talking about India and Bangladesh relations, 2 very friendly countries. In fact, a neighboring country where India plays in its very formation, Bangladesh. And the relationship has soured over the past 8 months, ever since regime change. Now, Mohammad Yunus is the chief advisor to an interim government in Bangladesh. And therefore, India was treading cautiously. We've seen how, the foreign secretary went to Bangladesh and held, bilateral meetings with his counterpart in Dhaka. But India was insisting that Bangladesh was insisting that there should be a meeting between Mohammad Yunus and Prime Minister Modi. There were several occasions. They could have met on the sidelines of the UNGA summit in New York, but that did not happen. Bangladesh was extremely eager. In fact, just a few days back, Mohammad Yunus went to China. That was his first official visit as the chief of Bangladesh right now. What we are learning from Bangladeshi authorities is that, Bangladesh wanted Mohammad Yunus to visit India first. But that did not happen. The response from the Indian side wasn't forthcoming. Maybe that was a tactical move from the Modi government. Now that Mohammad Yunus has returned from China, and the comments that he has made in China about India's northeast has triggered the Indian establishment so badly, what we are learning from the Bangladesh sources, their eagerness persisted. They were very, very keen on making this meeting happen. And finally, the Indian authorities agreed. Prime Minister Modi agreed to see in person Mohammad Yunus. We saw the visual yesterday where Mohammad Yunus was sitting on the left-hand side of Prime Minister Modi at the official dinner hosted by the Thai Prime Minister. And we were trying to read the body languages over the last 24 hours, and all through last night there were hectic parleys that were on, and the Bangladeshi administration would really hoping that India will accept this offer for a meeting, and there would be some amount of bilateral direct talks at the very top level between Mohammed Yunus and Prime Minister Modi. There are so many issues on the table, Sneha. We've seen over the past 8 months, ever since Sheikh Hasina's ouster, Bangladesh writing formally to India and opposing Sheikh Hasina being given shelter. They have also written to India, in order to extradite Sheikh Hasina back to Bangladesh. India has written to Bangladesh officially explaining and also expressing its concerns about the safety and security of the minority Hindu community, especially in the backdrop of Chinmay Krishnadas, the ISKCON monk who is still in incarceration in Bangladesh. So there are several issues. There have been DG round talks between the BSF and the border guards Bangladesh just a few weeks back in New Delhi. So, after the initial phase of regime change, it took some time for the Indian administration to decide how to react to the regime change in Bangladesh. They were treading with caution. What we are given to understand from the Indian establishment is that initially they felt that Mohammed Yunus's, the mandate that he has is very limited. It's an interim government. It is not an elected government. And his mandate is to hold a free and fair elections in Bangladesh as soon as possible. Now, Mohammed Yunus, just a few days back, during Bangladesh's Independence Day in March last month, he addressed the nation and he said an election is going to take place in Bangladesh in a time frame between December this year and June next year. So there is pressure mounting on the interim administration in Bangladesh amid a lot of crisis, amid an economic crisis that is unfolding. There is law and order situation in Bangladesh. A lot of people are talking about rising crimes. So in Bangladesh in a state of flux right now. In that backdrop, the souring relations with India, with calling back their missions from Calcutta and from Agartala. There were protests outside the missions in Calcutta and Agartala. India had also scaled down its diplomatic relations. Initially, right after regime change, a lot of diplomats from the Indian High Commission in Dhaka, they were called in. However, the Indian High Commissioner himself stayed back, and he was continuously in touch with the Bangladesh's interim administration. So this is very, very crucial because India and Bangladesh, two neighbors, India's eastern front, and the Chinese aggression, or in a sense, the Chinese activity does not augur well. And in a sense, one would also say that India's message, the kind of message that India gives, or Narendra Modi gives today, would be very interesting. We can expect a statement from the Ministry of External Affairs. We can also expect a statement after this meeting from the Foreign Ministry of Bangladesh. We'll have to wait and see what kind of statement comes in. But, India would raise some of these concerns like the border security and, of course, the issue of minority protection in Bangladesh.
All right.